welcome to my channel, A1C, high blood sugar as it relates to diabetes. Today I wanted to show you some information about cigarettes. My father was a cigarette smoker for years, probably close to 20 years, but he stopped about around 1960, 1961. And I was born in 1960, so I never really had a chance to watch my father smoke cigarettes. But I definitely had a chance to see the effect that smoking had on him as I grew older. I think my father had his first heart attack at 42. And then he had kind of like a second heart attack at 46. And then at 52, 50, 51, 52, somewhere in there, he had his third heart attack. And that was the heart attack that caused his death. What I've put together here is a list of all the different chemicals that are in a cigarette. Now it's been blown up quite a bit so that you can see it on video, but it's a pretty interesting list. And one thing that I want to go over today is that if you smoke cigarettes, high probability that you will end up being a diabetic. Diabetes is a very, very, very serious condition to have. And if you smoke cigarettes, you are really complicating your diabetes. When you smoke a cigarette, basically when you inhale the smoke, you're inhaling obviously tar and all these different chemicals that I'm about to show you. But also you displace 50% of the oxygen in your lungs. So if you remove 50% of the oxygen in both your lungs, your body has to compensate for that. And the way your body compensates for that is by increasing your heart rate. And it can increase significantly depending on your physiology and how good a shape you're in. If you're overweight, that's even more stress on your heart. Yeah, you're overweight and you're smoking. And if you end up with becoming a diabetic, now you've really got concerns, because diabetes is all about, once again, your A1C. And if you have a lot of sugar in your blood basically thickens like syrup. And so your heart has got to pump that thick blood through veins and arteries that aren't much bigger than your hair, the size of your hair. So it puts your heart under a tremendous amount of stress. And that's why a lot of people that have diabetes, like my father, typically end up having cardiac arrest. Also, because of all these different chemicals that are in a cigarette, and I will start that scroll now, your immune system has got to deal with all these different chemicals. There's an awful lot of chemicals in one cigarette. And the same could be said for if you smoke marijuana, probably even worse. A lot of chemicals in marijuana as well. But you're severely compromising the length or the amount of time that you will be on this earth as a walking and talking human being if you smoke cigarettes and you develop diabetes, because your heart is under so much stress, along with your immune system being under a great deal of stress, that your heart just basically gives out. I mean, it's not very difficult to understand. Now here we are, page 5 of 8. There's a tremendous amount of chemicals in one cigarette. And all these chemicals are in the smoke that you inhale. So every time you inhale a cigarette, you're breathing in all these different chemicals. And it just makes it really, really tough for your body to deal with this. It compromises your immune system. And it makes it difficult for you to fight colds and infections. Today, especially with the coronavirus COVID-19, being a cigarette smoker is not a good thing to be. So if you do smoke, I would encourage you to try to figure out a way to stop smoking, because your life will literally depend on it. And if you come down with diabetes, definitely stop smoking. Work on losing the weight, and also go and see a certified diabetes educator, because they'll be able to give you a great deal more information than I can. What I'm sharing with you is basically information that a certified diabetes educator gave to me. I've never been a smoker, which is probably why I'm still alive to this day. I just turned 60 in December, this past December 2020. So you want to try to remember that smoking cigarettes and diabetes is not a good thing to be doing. You want to try to stop smoking, lose weight, exercise, change your diet, reduce the amount of sugar in the food that you eat. Get your A1C under control. But most importantly, go see a certified diabetes educator. Let them explain to you the importance of not smoking, not just cigarettes, but marijuana as well. Because when you smoke, you displace the amount of oxygen in your lungs, and your body has to compensate for that. And the only way that your body can do that is through increased heart rate. Also, smoking cigarettes will drive up your blood pressure. And that's another thing that you do not want if you are diabetic. I have high blood pressure as well. I do control it with prescription medications. So I'm very careful about not only what I eat and how much sugar is in the food that I eat, but I'm also very careful about how much salt is in the food that I eat. And that's one of the main reasons why I avoid a lot of different foods in the grocery store, because not only are they full of sugar, but they're full of salt as well. And if you consume a lot of salt, it will increase your blood pressure. And once again, questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. And please subscribe to my A1C high blood sugar as it relates to diabetes YouTube channel. And just understand that controlling high blood sugar is not that difficult. You just have to buckle down and make the right decisions so that you can live a relatively long life. And there are people out there that are doing it. And I know for a fact that if I had not made the changes in my diet, and if I had been, if I started smoking years ago, there's just no way I would still be on this planet, because my heart would have just given up like my father's did. My father only lived to be 50. I think he passed away at 52, either 50 or 52. But as someone who's 60, you start to realize that, boy, that was incredibly young.